Guys, it's Sarah. It is September 13th. Happy Friday. It's been a long week and I feel like a lot of us have been experiencing some pretty heavy energy this week. I'm hoping the weekend gives us a little bit of break from that. So I'm going to ask to bring in a postcard from Spirit on what kind of advice that they would have for this weekend. For anybody who's watching. I'm also going to at this time ask Archangel Michael to come in and bless and protect this reading, as well as any of you that are watching and require or would like that. I'm going to ask at this time also to call in my team of light and any helping spirits at this time. Okay, so spirits. Before I get too far into this, what I would like to do as I'm shuffling, we've got one here. So that's one that we'll pull out and we'll read it. But with the energy that we may be picking up on in the card, it could be something you've already been experiencing and it's just that extra, drive for you to accomplish whatever you're working on. If it's something that really triggers you and makes you feel emotions, I ask that you're open to them. That you're open to the ideas and the inspiration that come with your reactions and your emotions when we're reading these, because a lot of times that's the way that Spirit's giving us nudges too, and that's part of where our truth lies. Okay, you may not be feeling this, and it may be something that maybe in a few weeks you might be like, oh yeah, that's what it's for. Either way, however it works, everything's up to your own free will. And if you decide that whatever this says is not for you, then go about your day. And even if it is for you, go about your day normal and just take heed to the advice. It's not necessarily that these things, first off, before we get into this further, when you're watching readings and stuff, it's not necessarily that it's going to happen. You don't have to make them self-fulfilling prophecies if they're bad, but it takes our free will and our actions to move in the direction that the energies are giving us. We need to work with them. Okay, so that being said, grab this away for a minute. That's one of the things that I was really called to kind of bring forward anyway. Okay, so one more card, Spirit, from anybody who's watching this on how we can move into our weekend, please. And I'm going to ask for positively, right? Like positively move into the weekend, give some sort of recourse from the heavy energies of the week. Okay, Spirit, do you have anything else to add? Thank you. Okay, so we have two. I'm going to first read the first one that we got, which is you are note and love. I don't really understand that. Okay, so anyway. Dear you, it might be hard to believe you'll ever get to where you want to go, feel the way you want to feel, and find peace and security, but you can. There's lots to celebrate in this life, but first you need to let go of this attachment to achieving certain results. It is easy to get caught in the endless loop of wanting this or that, or you can feel safe. The only way out is to surrender the attachment. Empty yourself so you can be filled with something new. The compulsion will be lifted and peace will come. Trust that something better awaits, that something new will open up, and you will see new opportunities for fulfillment. The truth is, whenever you get into the loop, what you are really looking for is Spirit. That connection is where the power, the peace, and the purpose lies. Everything else follows after that. Give yourself a hug. We've got you. Loving you so much. We get a lot of attachments to the things that we think we need to feel safe, as they're saying. One of the ways to take this, though, right, is that, as I was saying, when you're feeling these messages, those are little God winks, little messages from the divine. So allow yourself to, maybe in this weekend, to be a little more divinely guided, to just rest, right? Just take the time from feeling like you have to be a squirrel, or like this is especially the time when they're gathering all these resources for winter. rather than feeling like these are all these things, right, and having to collect and collect frantically to have something. Maybe rather than that, let's look to ourselves to find the peace and to find the safety and security. Obviously, physical needs are important, right? That's not being questioned, but maybe it's something like, if it takes working yourself to the bone and to the core and having no time for yourself to be able to get these needs met, maybe we need to look at a different way, and maybe Spirit has that, okay? So the second one that came out is, dropped it, didn't even want me to say it, okay. So, be fearless. And in some of this divine intervention and divine guidance that we're getting, like, Spirit already has a plan for us, right? Spirit has given us the tools that we need to be able to work through this. We just gotta listen. So let's read this card and see what it's gonna say. Dearest you, on Earth, humans learn about life by telling stories and creating new ones based on shared experiences. Eventually, after repeating one often enough, it becomes your main story that you use to define yourself in the world. So get the answers you seek. So to get the answers you seek, you must get vulnerable and hear your story when you tell it. Ask, why do you tell it? Is it really true? What else can be true? Can you see the truth that Spirit is in all things? Do you see how other stories overlap and intertwine? Spirit loves stories, for they are like blueprints for co-creation. So tell the one we know to be true about you, a story of courage, gratitude, and honesty. Tell an empowered story about well-being, wisdom, and grace. You will experience your world according to the story you tell about it, so make sure the stories you're proud of. 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. So, in terms of being fearless, when we discuss talking about our story, this is really important. How we define ourselves, how we talk about ourselves, gives other people an idea on how they can define and talk about us. If we say things like, I'm a beautiful soul, I'm kind, I'm caring, I'm nurturing, I'm loving, I respect all beings, I look for the best in people, I set clear and distinct boundaries, I know that I have love in my heart for myself, things like that. When we talk about ourselves, rather than saying, okay, I could lose a few extra pounds, or I just can't seem to do anything right, or wow, my situation is where it's put me in this place. When you allow things yourself to define yourself in ways that aren't really for your highest good, you're starting this self-sabotage right from the get-go. So allow yourself to see the world in your definition with that wisdom, with that grace, rather than seeing all the things, maybe if we're looking at a kind of stuff that is happening in our life, and rather than seeing it as always something that is outside of us and we're just doomed, look at all the good things that we have and flip it around to see that we have power within our life, even in our own mind. We've got power to say, you know what, this idea about myself is no longer serving me. I need to replace it with something better to say. Be fearless in that. And if you find in yourself that you don't like this thing or this part of you, if when you're defining yourself, it's not something that you're proud of, redefine it and stop telling that story. Change the story. Change it so that it's like, well, I've had these issues, but I no longer feel like I have to define myself like that, okay? Especially when it comes to, I'm just hearing you're not your coping mechanism, okay? So whatever it is maybe that we do to deal with our stress, and sometimes not always the most healthy ones, if we are using that as ourself and looking at ourselves like that, just for some, this is just something that's kind of coming here, but when we're constantly giving ourselves permission to go against our higher good because we're constantly feeding ourselves these stories of not being worthy and not being good enough, we do nothing but hurt ourselves. And I understand it is so difficult to constantly keep on the positive side, to constantly keep in the light, but it will definitely help you. So redefine yourself, be fearless in that, and follow what Spirit tells us. Okay, quickly, I'm feeling like Earth Magic wants to come. Actually, no, I lied. Whispers of Love wants to come in because this is for within ourselves, how we can find some love for ourselves. And so to go a little clarifier here, one message, please, Spirit, for anyone watching, from the Whispers of Love, there's one, I'm going to ask for another one, to bring more love into our life and more positive experiences. And this is starting with ourselves. So more positive self-love and self-belief systems. Thank you. The one that fell out here is focus on love. Really important, right? You see her sitting there talking to the dragon, and it almost feels like she's a tree. I know she's not, but she is definitely fading in and blending in with the surroundings and offering this dragon something in her arms, her hands, but she is part of the tree. She's rooted down. And you see on the one side of like the dragon, right, in his little corner here, he's burned a lot of things because, well, he's a dragon. That's what he does. And she's over here all earthy and, you know, just beautiful and full of life. And between the two of them, even though it's like, well, you've burned down my family, you've burned down the other trees, you burned down everything, still focus on the love because this dragon is beautiful, right? Don't get upset for a dragon for being a dragon, I guess is one way to put it. And the first one that came out is the union of hearts. And there is a connection of love that defies explanation. When you are within spiritual union within yourself and you can see the beauty of yourself, as well as, I mean, this is romantic as well, right? This is obviously three people, right? And as they are embracing, the birds are flocking, like they're becoming one here. This is beautiful, but this is also having that connection with Spirit, having that connection with the divine, and being balanced within yourself and listening to the messages that you're given. At the end of the day with this, really will help you to feel a whole lot better, and right, just change things, to know that I am one within myself. I don't need anyone else to change that. And quickly, before the battery dies on this thing, we're going to call in Earth Magic. So to end this off on a grounded note, because I feel like maybe I said too much and I rambled on too much because I do that, but at the same time, there's some pretty heavy messages here on really listening to ourselves, listening to Spirit, and the guidance that it's